Hello, Eagles Nation, and welcome to Week 10 of the 2021-2022 NFL season. Ah, Eagles take on the Broncos in Denver later this afternoon for a mile-high matchup against those Broncos who did us a favor last week because they shut up the local bandwagon Dallas fans for a week because they beat Dallas in Dallas last week. So, a good win for the Broncos there. And meanwhile, as we know, the Eagles couldn't get done against the Chargers in a winnable game. It was a winnable game that the Eagles fell short. Listen, I mean, first half of the game, the offense was an issue. Second half of the game, the defense was an issue. And there you go. I mean, the both sides of the ball just couldn't play well at the same time, it seemed. And it is what it is. I mean, listen, it's been much talked about this week. This defense is, and we've known this. We knew this going into the game last week against the Chargers. We knew the defensive deficiencies that this team has. It's a mixture of coaches. It's a coaching and personnel. I mean, I've beat the drum for this many a time that this organization needs to put more value in certain positions such as linebacker, such as safety, and hopefully they do that this offseason via the draft, via free agency. This is something that they really have to start targeting, and they really need to get more aggressive and better at assessing what they need on the defensive side of the ball. It's not just the defensive line. And I know for a number of years that was the philosophy, right? Oh, we have to have this strong defensive line and just that's going to do it. We can be, we can go a little on the cheap side with linebacker and with safety. The cornerback, I think they always put some attention to. They always drafted corners, and they would get corners out of free agency like a Darius Slay, and what have you, Nelson this offseason, right? But safety has been something really since Malcolm Jenkins, way back when. They really haven't put that value. I know they got McLeod, and he was he's been a good role player for a while, but honestly, they just haven't put enough value in that position and the linebacker position. I mean, we know this, right? They've let go good linebackers who went on to have success on other teams. Right now, in Jordan Hicks's case, he just couldn't stay healthy here. I mean, what can you do? They gave him every chance in the world. He just couldn't stay healthy, including in the Super Bowl year. They let him go, and he's played pretty good for the Cardinals ever since, right? It happens, but shouldn't deter them from going out and being aggressive, getting those players in those positions. So last week, as we know, and as has been much discussed here in Eagles Nation this week, it was a problem. And that second half of the game, listen, I mean, it's the same defense. We're going to take away the big play, but you're giving up all these intermediate plays, right? And dink and dunk down the field. And when they needed to get a stop, when they needed at least to get the Chargers offense off the field to just get them a field goal where there's still enough time for the Eagles offense, who was hot at the time, to get the ball back. Of course, they couldn't do it. The Chargers go on a 6-minute drive to close out the game and get that field goal with 2 seconds to go, and that's it, right? Chargers win. Again, a winnable game. But again, you look back at the defense, and I looked at those wonderful jerseys that the Chargers were wearing last week. I'm so glad they went back to like that throwback look, right? Those white jerseys with the bolts just pop so much. But I looked at Justin Herbert's jersey. It was white when the game started. It was white when the game ended, right? And as a Jersey head, I can appreciate that. But as an Eagles fan, it was disappointing. I mean, as it was, the Eagles blitzed about 30% of the time last week. You wouldn't have known it. You could have fooled me. They couldn't touch Herbert the whole game. They have not gotten sustained pass rush week after week after week, particularly against the better teams. And I understand, listen, they played well against Detroit. A lot of teams play well against Detroit, right? Against the Panthers, they played well defensively. You've seen that against the Panthers week after week with McCaffrey out of the lineup, right? Yes, it was good they won those games. They're road victories, right? The week 1 game against the Falcons was a good win. All 3 of their wins have come on the road. They have yet to win a damn home game. And it's getting annoying. It really is that they can't win a game at home, right? So you take a look at, okay, what do these games all have in common? Their losses, what do they all have in common, right? yes, they're going up against some pretty good quarterbacks in those games. You went against Mahomes, you went against Brady, you went against Herbert, all good quarterbacks, right? The 49er game, I don't think the 49ers did anything just real spectacular offensively in that game. That was just one of those games where the Eagles' offense just couldn't finish drives with touchdowns, right? The 49er defense was really better, was really the story in that game for San Francisco more so than the offense. But that being said, the Niners still were able to hold the ball on long drives from time to time because the Eagles' defense couldn't get stops. They couldn't get off the field. They couldn't get pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo, who made some plays in that game, right? And you saw it again against Kansas City. You saw it against Tampa. You saw it against the Chargers. No punting by the Chargers. No punting by Kansas City. It's almost like these teams are playing Madden games. There's no punts going on. It's just they just hold on to the ball, and they can do whatever they want in the intermediate passing game because the Eagles have that wide open. Why? Again, linebackers. The problems we have at linebackers, they don't cover anybody. And the safeties as well. It's a problem. And you see that in these games. Yes, in their wins, I think you can look at, yeah, the offense played really well. But at the same point, the defense, the defensive line was able to get pressure in those games and get sacks and get to the quarterbacks. But we haven't seen that near enough this season. And you take a look at these losses, and there's, again, the commonality in those losses is that just no pass rush. Where's the pass rush? Why aren't we getting to the quarterback? Just not sustaining it. And again, I know the Brandon Graham injury was a big loss for this team, and you can see it week after week, but it's disappointing because there's no one else who's really stepping up. There's been bits of it here and there. You see Josh Sweat here and there. Maybe Fletcher might make a play. Hargraves was playing good at the beginning of the season. He's tailed off. This defensive line, which is what they put so much pride and effort into, has been one of the biggest failures on the season. And yeah, I know the BG injury was big, but even with that, other guys got to step up. And you're just not seeing that sustained week after week after week. Particularly if you're going to play this defense where you're going to go too high with the safeties and take away the big play, right? Like teams, that's all they're going to try to do is the big play on every down, right? It is what it is. But again, this defensive line. Now, if you're going to play that way, you got to get pressure on the quarterback with your defensive line, with your linebackers, the blitzing. And when they do blitz, they don't get there. It gets picked up. And like I said last week, again, 30% of the time they blitz. They actually blitzed, were amongst last week, were amongst the highest percentage of teams that blitzed last week. And we're all saying, why does this team never blitz after the game? Because you could have fooled us. They weren't getting there, right? They blitz. They don't get there, and Herbert just goes over the top. Here's a quick one to the tight end. Here's a quick one to the running back. Here's a quick one to the receiver. Wide open, right? That's a problem, and it's been a problem going on week after week after week after week. It's the same story, right? It's the same story. Now, this week you're going up against Teddy Bridgewater, and I certainly wouldn't put him up there with the Mahomes, with the Bradys, not even with the Herberts of the league, right? But he's still a veteran, solid quarterback. And the strength of that Broncos offense and what he does is dink and dunk. Okay? The intermediate passing routes, right? The Broncos offense isn't one of those bombs away offenses, right? They do have capable wide receivers. They're very good and athletic young wide receiving core. But honestly, their offense is really more of methodically move the football down the field. They have a good running game, and Teddy B, with those intermediate passing routes, right? So what does this defense give up? The intermediate passing route. So this could be a real problem. Today is what I'm getting at. And I understand the Broncos are coming off probably their best game of the year. I mean, they trade one of the faces of their franchise for many years in Von Miller to the Rams. Everyone's going to the Rams these days, aren't they? They get Miller, then OBJ joins up with them. I said it. Big Slim noted me when OBJ was released. I said he'll go to the Rams. You just get a feeling, everyone's going there. Last year, everyone was going to Tampa. This year, everyone's going to the Rams. It's just how it is, right? But they trade Von Miller, and they have an inspired game defensively last week against a really good offense in Dallas, right? Now, you can look at that one of two ways. I kind of look at it. I agree with what some people have said this week. I agree with it. I think that, listen, the defense was challenged, right? Denver, they're a good team. I don't think they're a bad team or anything. They've had some horrible games in recent time. Um, they have had some uh, um, some injuries with injury injuries that have happened and whatnot, right? So they've been kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team all year. When they look bad, they look bad. And when they look good, they look like one of the better teams in the league, right? Including last week. Now, last week, I still said, like I said, I think it was their best game of the week, of the year, rather. Both sides of the ball played phenomenal. That defense had probably their best game of the year, and they just all but shut down that Dallas offensive attack. It wasn't until, garbage time that Dallas scored those last, fourth quarter touchdowns. And Denver already had a big enough lead where it really didn't matter. It was basically for fantasy stats at that point, at the end of the game. But they had just an inspired game. Now, you can look at it one of two ways. And like I said, I agree with some people, what others have said this week. I think that Denver had that kind of defensive performance because of the trade of Von Miller. And I think it was like a lot of guys just wanted to prove it. Okay, no one thinks we can do anything this week against Dallas. We're going to show them. We're going to show you, kind of thing. It's like, you get put back in the corner and one of two things is going to happen, right? So they came out swinging and they won that game. They punched them in the mouth and they won that game. And Denver's defense had, like I said, one of their best performances all year. As a whole, that team had one of their best performances all year. It was their game of the year. I mean, you go back and you look at Bronco highlights after this season, you're going to see a lot of highlights from that Dallas game. It was one of those games. Now, do I see Denver playing like that the rest of the season? No, I don't. I think that they're a good team. I mean, they're a fringe playoff team, maybe a wild card possibility, for the season. But I don't think that that's a sustainable thing for that team. Now I will say this: that offense, the way they're built, the way this Eagles defense is built, the way this Eagles defensive scheme is, which is very vanilla, which is very preseason. I don't know. It's like they're playing preseason defense all year. The coaching staff that doesn't seem to want to make adjustments during games on the defensive side of the ball, that's a problem when you're going up against a team like Denver, because the weakness of the Eagles defense is where Denver shines offensively. So this could be an ugly game. Listen, it really could. It could be an ugly type of game where the Eagles just, it could be one of those typical Eagles in Denver games. I mean, the Eagles, if I remember correct, have never won in Denver. And a lot of those games in Denver have been very ugly for the Eagles. Have been very one-sided, Broncos-sided. Now, some of those games with the Eagles were not very good, and the Broncos had, were making Super Bowl runs, right? So, you look at the stats, but you kind of have to look at where the teams were at those times and, what it is. But yeah, the Eagles have struggled in Denver over the years. Whenever they played, the few times that they played there over the years, they've struggled. And today could be one of those games. I mean, this defense, again, you're going up against an opponent who, again, like I said, their strength is the weakness of this Eagles defensive attack. And it could be a long day for this defense. Now, there's a lot of prideful guys on this team, right? They got some veterans, right? They've been kicked around, right? This past week, I mean, you couldn't get off the field, 6-minute drive for the Chargers at the end. You couldn't get to Herbert. You couldn't get turnovers. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do that. They never punted in the game, right? They've had to hear it all week, right? Now, one of two things is going to happen for this Eagles team, right? Now, they're in the corner. So what's going to happen? Are they going to come out swinging? Or are they going to, stay in the corner? We're going to see. I do believe this offense took some steps in the second half of last week's game. Now, I'm still not 100% thrilled with what's going on offensively as far as the passing game's concerned. I like what they're doing running the ball, and they're sustaining that, and that's good. But it's almost like they have to because the passing game just isn't there. And I still don't like the fact that that Jalen Hurts is basically run, read, and run. There's wide open receivers that he's missing. And again, he's a young receiver. This is only very few games in his NFL career, right? But still, survey the field better, right? You're missing guys that are open, right? Last week he missed a couple touchdown passes. The first two Dallas Goedert were a little bare touch on that pass. That's a touchdown. Same deal in the back of the end zone when you had Devontae Smith there for what could have been a touchdown. Now it was good coverage, but still, I mean, you put a better touch on that pass, it could be 6 right there. Again, you're not giving your playmakers enough chances to make plays, to make those explosive plays to get those touchdowns. And yeah, I think Jalen did a nice job last week running. I mean, the Chargers didn't seem, you talk about team defenses that didn't adjust. The Chargers defense didn't adjust either. Now, the Eagles took advantage of that in the second half to their credit, right? But again, the Eagles defense was just that much worse in the second half, where the Chargers were able to hold the ball for 6 minutes and win the game on a field goal. Disappointing. Again, it was a winnable game last week, and it couldn't do it. And again, another home loss. And what's that? 0-4 now at home. 0-5 going back to last season. That's tough, man. And these fans. I mean, I'm not a season ticket holder. I've always said my season ticket's on the couch downstairs. But I was at one of those games this year with Big Slim against Kansas City. It was just a Madden game. There wasn't any punts on both sides of the ball that time for both teams. But it is what it is. And this Eagles defense has been driving us nuts. And until they get, I almost want to say until they get that better personnel, this is what's going to happen. But even if they do go out, and by the way, Miami, that win against Baltimore, really? Now you got to start winning? We need that pick, damn it, lose! Like, looking at their schedule the rest of the way, it's kind of favorable. And I'm like, oh, no. No. They've won 2 in a row. That's not good. I want that high pick from Miami, right? Because I can still see the Eagles winning 6 or 7 games on the season, even with how the first part of the season has gone so far, because the Eagles are, they are going to go up against teams that they're going to have some favorable matchups against. And I can see them rattling off a few games, and instead of having a top 6, 7 pick, maybe the Eagles pick is like a top 10, 12 pick. That Dolphin pick is still looking good. We need them to lose, damn it. I tell you, it was a bad week. The only thing that went well last week was Dallas losing. That was it. The Eagles lost. Miami won. The Sixers and Flyers kept losing until the Flyers beat Carolina on Friday night. Then last night they both lose again. This is really. But remember, our fans always have to be happy. We can't be angry fans, because everyone says the Philly fans, look at them. Look at our teams. Who do we have to be happy for? Come on. Ben Simmons. Anyhow, we have to be happy, though. We have to be happy to lose. ESPN narrative all the time. Anyhow. It's a problem. Today's game, going into the season, it's like I've said many a time, I wasn't looking at wins and losses. I just wasn't. But at the same time, as a fan, you want to see your team win, right? Like last week, I found myself, even though, listen, I know it's not a playoff year. This is a year, let's see what we have with the coaching staff. Let's see what we have with certain players. Let's see what we have with this youth. Can they progress as the season goes along? That kind of deal, right? That kind of season. But, you find yourself every week rooting. You find yourself every week wanting them to have success and win. And last week was disappointing, right? It was a game that was there that they could have won. The defense couldn't get off the field for 6 minutes. It's like But anyhow, I digress from that. This week, I can't see a win. I think they'll play a bit better this week. I am a little worried about this offense versus the Denver defense. I don't think Denver's defense is as good as they played last week against Dallas. I just think it was one of those games that they kind of wanted to prove it to themselves, because they're prove it to others because Von Miller got traded. I think it was one of those games, a real emotional game for that defense, and they came out and they played well. Hey, give them credit. Hey, thank you, Denver, for beating Dallas last week, right? Tip the hat to them, man. We have to hear from their ridiculous fans this week. They were, as usual, the local Dallas fans were quiet this week after their team lost. When they win, they pound their chest and go on about Super Bowls, and when they lose, there's a basketball game today, right? Is LeBron playing? The Lakers? For some reason, they're all Laker fans. Like, I don't. Dallas and LA are just so close to each other, proximity. They're just, they somehow they both play in Texas. But anyhow, I digress from that, right? I don't. I can't see a win. I can't. This team, the deficiencies that they have on defense, again, is the type of thing that Denver's offense can take advantage of. I think the Eagles. I think the Eagles' offense will do okay. I don't think they're going to set the world afire today. Denver's defense, I don't think, was as good as they looked a week ago, but they're still good. They're stout. They're good. They have some players that make plays. It's going to be a tough game. It's in Denver. I know the Eagles' 3 wins have come on the road this season, and that is a test. Look, there is something to say about that. With this coaching staff, they got 3 road wins, even though one of them was against the Lions, but still, it's a win. Again, I don't see a win today. I don't want to quite call it an ugly loss, but I can see it as a double-digit loss. I can see it as a 12-point loss, as a 13-point loss. There's just something about playing in Denver, for the Eagles over the years. And like I said, time and place. I mean, I know, like I've said before, some of those Eagles teams are horrible, and those Denver teams are really good going to Super Bowls and whatnot. But, again, I don't know. I can't see a win today. I would be pleasantly surprised and happy with a win today. God knows we need it after the week we just had, where we had 1 win combined with 3 teams. Come on. But I don't know. I can't see it. I can't see it. I do think that, listen, there's going to be wins as the season goes on. You're playing, the football team twice, the Giants twice. You're playing the Jets, the Saints without Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, they're going to have games where, maybe they come out on top, but this one I just don't think is going to be one of them. I think Denver's riding high right now, and again, I don't think they're going to play as well as they did a week ago against Dallas. It was just one of those games. Again, thankfully for Eagles Nation, they slapped Dallas around. That was fun. but I again, they're a good team, and they do have playoff aspirations. And I do think that at this point in time, they're better than the Eagles, and I think they get the win. I hope to see a little better play out of the defense. I hope to see the offense continue to progress. But again, it's a tough spot. It's a tough spot. I just, Denver, it's tough. It's tough. I just think it's going to be an L. And bottom line, end of the day, that's not a bad thing because we need to pick. We need to have as high picks as we can so we can start to make those changes, hopefully. The only thing that worries me is Howie making the picks. It's probably still going to be Howie making the picks. That does worry. I know he had the binoculars looking at the quarterbacks this week, that Pitt North Carolina game, and maybe those binoculars could have gone to the defensive linebackers or something. I want Georgia guys. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to sound this way. I want SEC and Ohio State for defense. That's what I want. I don't want other guys from the Pac-12, from this conference. Give me SEC guys for defense. Georgia, they got linebackers there. I want at least one of them in this draft. Ohio State, that's it. That's it. I don't want them looking anywhere else. Because we've had so much success in other conferences getting defensive players from there. Yes, I know we've had some misses in SEC too. I know is what it is, right? Barnett. That didn't really work out. Although he did get the fumble recovery in Super Bowl 50. It's the only thing he's ever done for the Eagles, but he did that at least. Anyhow, better times will come. They will. We just have to weather the storm. And hey, look, every loss is another better pick. And we need the Dolphins to lose. Even though they have a favorable schedule, we need them to lose. Lose Miami. The hell with the winning. Don't worry about the 2 wins in a row. Go back to losing. We need your pick. We need it to be a good one. Eagles too. Just pick. Those picks. It sucks having seasons where you're just hoping for picks. It's like the process here with the Sixers. It's just and Ben Simmons. Oh God, I'm still a believer he'll be moved this year. I really. But anyhow, this is season event for the Eagles, not the Sixers. So we're going to move on to the weekly Festive Four and Festive is, Festive popped right up. But Festive's going to deliver the Festive Four. There you go, Festive. Festive's looking at Slim. All right, Festive. All right. I don't have to hold you back from Slim. All right. Now, Festive and I would like to, before we do the weekly Festive Four, to give a salute to the troops. Of course, Veterans Day was this past week. A lot of teams wearing the camo right in the NFL, and it can never be said enough. Thank you to all the brave men and women out there who have served or continue to serve this country. You all, I've always said this, you are a part of the true heroes in this world, and thank you so much again for your service. It can never be said enough. And so there we go, right? In fact, the Fox is, Festive reminds that the Fox is part of the logo for one of the outfits for the Rangers. They have a fox as the logo, red fox as the logo. They have a Festive as the as the logo. And in fact, I pre-ordered a hat from Clinkroom, the Rangers, with a fox on the, because of course I did, right? With the fox on the hat. So we'll be getting that in a few months, right? A pre-order for that. But anyhow, thank you to all of you who continue to serve or have served. And again, it can never be said enough, not just in times like Veterans Day and Memorial Day and stuff like that, but year-round, right? Year-round. Thank you all so much. Now let's move on to the weekly Festive Four. And Festive, look, Festive was successful last week at jinxing Dallas. See, I knew there was a reason Festive picked Dallas last. There was a look at that proud face right there. Festive knew what Festive was doing. Festive gave a little jinx to this. It's going to be the annual Dallas jinx that Festive will try to do for Dallas. So Festive last week went 500, 2-2, 21-11 on the season, still right, 10 above 500. That's not bad. And this week's Festive Four, Festive likes Tennessee, Slim's family's Titans over those New Orleans Saints. Festive likes the Titans in that game, even without they still looked impressive, even without Derrick Henry in the lineup. And Adrian Peterson, he just continues to go, right? He just doesn't matter. He just continues to go. AP all day. So Festive likes the Titans to beat the Saints. Festive also likes this year's Hard Knocks regular season team. That's going to be exciting, right? That season series premieres, I believe, next week on HBO and HBO Max, I believe. Hard Knocks regular season. Boy, I got to tell you, I love the Hard Knocks series, and I've always said, boy, I wish it would just go into the season, right? Now, I know Amazon Prime did their series, the All or Nothing series, which they've done for multiple sports now, but they were doing it for the NFL. The Eagles were part of it some years ago, right? And that was a great series because it went right through the season. You saw everything kind of play out throughout the season, right? So now Hard Knocks is doing that for the regular season, and this year's team is the Indianapolis Colts. So that's going to be kind of cool to see, right? The Eagles get their pick as long as Carson Wentz plays 75% of the snaps, and that probably will happen, barring injury. So looking good there, too. And speaking of those Hard Knock Colts, Festive likes them against Jacksonville this week. And also Festive likes the team that beat the Eagles last week, the Chargers. Festive's a fan of the uniform. Festive's going for the against Jake's Minnesota Vikings. Jake's not going to be happy, Festive. Festive likes the Chargers over the Vikings this week. Festive likes the Chargers to continue their role in the winning ways to beat the Vikings. And finally, Festive likes Buffalo over the Jets. Festive feels the Bills will rebound after a brutal game against Jacksonville last week. Festive likes Buffalo rebound, though, against the New York Football Jets. And that is the Festive for Week 10. Okay? And for Festive and myself, as we always say, let's go Birds! This one might not go well against Denver, but we're going to root as we always do. And thank you for watching as always. And remember, if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button, right? And you want to make sure to hit the bell icon so you're notified of future content. I'm going to have more content coming out here. I got another video for the In the Life series for being a collector. That's going to be fun, right? You want to make sure you're alerted to that. So hit that bell icon and make sure you leave those likes. Like. This season has been a lot of dislike, right? But let's leave the likes for the videos, right? For the Season of the Fan series and for all the series here on the channel. And once again, take care, everyone, and I will see you in the next one. All right, take care.